FNaF World Simulator did get a second content update in 2022, this being the Rainbow Land side quest. In order to start this quest, all that is needed is to enter Dusting Fields. Once doing so, Fredbear and Puppet will show up in Fazbear Hills, and talking to them will start the quest. Fredbear tells us about how he has had an idea for a machine that lets us rematch old boss fights through the power of illusions. Though in order to do this, we need to collect artifacts called power orbs. There are 7 in total, but only 4 would be needed to power the machine. These 7 orbs are only located in the dreaded Rainbow Land, a place of trickery and pranks. So yes, Puppet accompany us to act as a guide. We can enter the portal in front of us, and then we can warp to Rainbow Land at any time. Warping to Rainbow Land, we meet a seemingly friendly rainbow, but Puppet interrupts us and warns us not to trust any of the rainbows, as for they are the entire reason why Rainbow Land has its reputation of being a place for tricksters. After that, we cut to a rainbow informing a figure concealed in shadows about the power orb. This figure is revealed to be Rainbear, and he is annoyed by the fact that other people are looking for the power orbs, even though he's been searching for these orbs for his entire life, and still hasn't found a single one. So he vows to find the power orbs before anyone else. Anyways, we spot our first power orb locked behind 3 colored gates, and in order to unlock said gates, we need the keys. These keys can be found in the different colored areas of Rainbow Land. So the first area I decide to tackle is the green area. Entering the area has me press a button that completely changes my movement. Talking to Puppet has her point at the obvious. Our movement has changed to be similar to a side-scrolling platformer. We lose the ability to go anywhere unrestricted, but we gain the ability to sprint to help with crossing bigger gaps. So we explore the area, only falling into a couple of pits occasionally, and we're able to get that green key. With the green key obtained, I set my sights on the red area. The movement gimmick here is that I can't stop, and I have to fully commit to the direction that I moved in, only stopping once I hit a wall. After doing some master puzzle solving that was honestly just a lot of waiting, I'm finally able to get a hold of that red key. With 2 keys snagged, the blue area is up next. Its movement gimmick is ice physics, meaning I have lowered traction, so I really can't stop on a dime. I collect the blue key with no resistance and make my way to the power orb. Just before grabbing the power orb, I'm confronted by Rainbear. Trying to solve the fact that we both want the power orb, he proposes a deal. For a small price of 10 fast tokens, I could take the power orb off his hands. Now, only a fool would buy that, thinking he wasn't planning something, so I say no, and instead we launch into a battle with Rainbear. He isn't too hard, the only real problem is the fact he uses Regen Song, but if you simply do more damage than he can heal off, he's light work. After getting the dub, Rainbear concedes the power orb to us. But before we leave, Puppet confronts Rainbear and tells him to give us the power orb. Rainbear tries to act dumb, but Puppet is adamant that the orb Rainbear gave us is a fake. Puppet then points out the weird flashing that the orb is doing. Finally giving up the charade, Rainbear gives us the real power orb. Puppet tries to reason with him, trying to get him to stop pulling tricks all the time because it gets annoying. He fakes joining our team and tells us he will not give up on his quest to get the power orbs before us. Once Rainbear leaves, a few rainbows stop us and take what Puppet said to heart and decide to stop pulling tricks on visitors. They even give us the rainbow tool, which allows us to change our movement like the buttons seen at the beginning of each colored area in Rainbow Land. After the rainbows leave, Rainbear comes back pissed about how the rainbows will no longer be tricking visitors to Rainbow Land, so he vows to turn Animatronica into his new home of trickery. With a new adversary, we immediately start trying to collect the power orbs before Rainbear does. The next power orb I need is being held by Funtime Foxy. She talks about a rainbow gem that Withered Freddy has. When she asked for it, Withered Freddy said she'd have to beat him with only her first move in order to get the gem. So I rushed my way towards Withered Freddy and he said the same thing that he said to Funtime Foxy. He also tacks on, if I lose, all my fast tokens are his. So just attacking Withered Freddy is really all that I can do, but if you just bludgeon him, he will go down. And there is a way to cheese this with Mr. Cawthon because of how small he is. He can't be hit if he's in the second party slot, and all you have to do is just time it. After his defeat, our reward is another fight with Withered Freddy, but this time Withered Chica joins him as well. This battle has a gimmick that we can only use a move once in the entire battle. This does include if another teammate has the same move. This battle is quite difficult if you haven't beat the main story. Because your attacks don't do enough damage and you don't have enough attacks to use to even defeat the Withered duo, the only real way to guarantee victory is just grinding so that your moves do more damage. After this defeat, we're told that we need to do another fight. This time it's all 4 of the withered animatronics. And the gimmick here is that we can only use an attack once per party member, meaning if 2 party members have the same move, they both can use it. This fight is pretty easy just due to how difficult the second fight is. So if you beat fight 2, you're going to easily beat fight 3. After winning this encounter, Withered Freddy again tries to do another battle with us, but its gimmick is that my team can't even use attacks. But before this happens, Withered Foxy calls out Withered Freddy, knowing that this battle would be impossible for my team to win. Withered Foxy then figures out that this was a ploy to scam my team out of all my fast tokens. Under all this pressure, Withered Freddy concedes the gem to us and quickly runs off with Withered Chica. Withered Foxy then apologizes to us because we had to be put through that. He had a feeling that Withered Freddy was up to something when he asked him to join him in a battle. Withered Bonnie was only just there to fight and not sign up to be a part of this drama. Anyways, we return to Funtime Foxy, who is overjoyed with the fact that we're offering the gem to her. To express her gratitude, she actually halves the price of moves and points for Golden Bounce Pot, and she also tries to give us the power orb, but Rainbear blows us away using the wind turbines in the area to steal the power orb. He steals the power orb and Funtime Foxy tries to trade the gem for the orb. Rainbear doesn't give her the power orb at first, but not wanting to be labeled as a thief, he does concede the orb to her. We come back to get the power orb from Funtime Foxy and run off to our next quest. Rainbear then comes back to get the orb, but sees she gave it to us, and not understanding why she would do that with no gain to herself, Rainbear then decides to just give her the gem, but before he leaves, Funtime Foxy does tell him, deep down, he is a good person. After getting our second power orb from Funtime Foxy, I stumble upon Phantom Chica and Foxy. They're trying to be detectives and solve some mysteries in Animatronica. The current mystery they're on is who is Freddy's secret informant. Phantom Chica had been clued into this because she had seen Nightmarion rushing into the ice caves. She'd asked him what he was doing, and he said he was told by Freddy to guard the key that could be used to get past Mendo's corridor because someone had informed Freddy on how our progress was going. And when she tried to press for some more answers, Nightmarion didn't give her any, so Phantom Chica is now left to figure out who the informant is by gathering clues. They wanted us to go talk to the reactivated Chipper's Revenge to see if he heard anything about who may be Freddy's informant. They didn't want to go themselves because they were afraid of him. And they also want to ask if Chipper's Revenge knows who reactivated him. Now, since I already have Chipper's Revenge, they can just question him right now. And he doesn't have an answer to any of the questions either. So we have to keep on investigating. To point us in the right direction, Phantom Foxy thinks it may have been Mr. Chipper who reactivated Chipper's Revenge. Luckily for us, he's somewhere in Rainbow Land and all we have to do is find him. Once locating Mr. Chipper, he asks us for a battle. And this fight is probably the singular easiest fight in the entire game. So we beat him pretty easily. After the fight, he notices Chipper's Revenge and questions us on who reactivated him. And it's obvious now that Mr. Chipper isn't the one who reactivated Chipper's Revenge. Before we go back to square one, Phantom Freddy jumps into the conversation and tells us that it was Lolbe who reactivated Chipper's Revenge. Mendo and Didi did also help in reactivating him. The reason he knows this is because when the 3 shopkeepers announced they were chosen as guardians for the buttons, all their tones were off, so Phantom Freddy decided to eavesdrop and follow the 3, and they heard them talking about how they were either going to die to Freddy or our team. So they dragged out Chipper's Revenge to have Lolbit repair him in the hopes that he might join our team. Lolbit then confirms this. As to why she didn't just do this sooner, good question. With this information, we head to tell the 2 Phantoms about the good news. The 2 Phantoms are overjoyed with this information, and they are about to give us the power orb, but Chipper's Revenge interrupts them. A forgotten memory had resurfaced, and he did hear Nightmarion mumble to himself about how careless he was to let slip that Freddy had an informant, and of all people, the only other thing that Chipper's Revenge heard at all was the fact that the name started with the sound F, and that was all Chipper's Revenge heard. This leads to Phantom Foxy deducing that it's either Fredbear or Funtime Foxy, so they ask us again to help with the Freddy informant case in exchange for the power orb. Phantom Chica tells us that the other person that might have heard something is the infamous Ice Owl. He may have overheard something. Phantom Foxy tries to dissuade Phantom Chica from encouraging us to even try to talk to him, but Phantom Chica does have a plan to help us have a little chat with Ice Owl. We would have to beat him in a fight and maybe he might talk to us. Because of how powerful he is, he's not going to be easy, but Phantom Chica does have a plan. The only attack that Ice Owl can use is Jackal Bomb. Since it's a fire-based attack, if my team was to be really cold, the Owl's attacks would do less damage. So to help us get cold, Phantom Chica had paid Lolbit to make a weatherizer, a device that can control the temperature of my party. So we go to fight Ice Owl and get information about who Freddy's informant might be, as well as learn about the possible origins of Ice Owl. Before we head out, Phantom Chica tells us that the colder we are, the faster our health will drain. I rush over to the ice cave and encounter Ice Owl. His fight is pretty easy, just the old reliable method of healing with Lolbit and bludgeoning the opponent with the other 3 party members. Beating him lets us must be worthy of speaking to him. He launches into his backstory that boils down to him being one of the first creations for FNaF World. The reason why he attacks any intruders is because he didn't want the ice cave to be crowded. Anyways, we ask him if he heard anything else that Nightmarion might have said. He did hear one thing, that the person with those adorable little fox ears, that was all he heard. So we head back to the Phantoms. We tell them the origin of Ice Owl, and we tell them the other clues that was given to us by Ice Owl. Phantom Foxy deduces that Funtime Foxy must be the informant, so he screams so loud that Funtime Foxy actually heard and rushed over to ask why Phantom Foxy was yelling at. The Funtime Foxy and the Phantoms argue until Ice Owl interrupts them, realizing he forgot to add one more detail. Nightmarion said that, well, the informant does have adorable fox ears, but all those withers kinda lower the Q factor. This eliminates Funtime Foxy as a suspect. This causes even more confusion until Chipper's revenge interrupts. Phantom Foxy had distorted his words. He said it didn't start with an F, it started with the sound of an F. It leads to two new suspects being Phantom Mangle and Foxy. Phantom Foxy immediately accuses Phantom Mangle. This causes Phantom Chica to jump back to question Foxy. How the only way he would know that Fredbear and Funtime Foxy were following my team around would have been if he was following us around as well. Phantom Chica figures out that he purposely misled the investigation by distorting Chipper's Revenge's words and accusing other people of being the informant. So she finally asks the question, Phantom Foxy, are you the informant? He finally admitted to it. He only did it because his life was on the line. The entire reason he originally joined Phantom Chica was to keep an eye on her, but he grew to enjoy solving mysteries with her. The two make up, and Funtime Foxy tells Phantom Chica that is all water under the bridge, and she takes her leave. The two Phantoms try to give me the power orb, but Rainbear cuts them off. He starts yapping and demands no resistance in handing over the power orb. Phantom Foxy actually agrees to his demands by not only giving him the power orb, but also the weatherizer. Rainbear is then baited into turning down the temperature and freezes himself. The two Phantoms thank us once more, and we finally get the third power orb. This quest is started by talking to Nightmare Foxy. He says he's seen a power orb in the Halloween update backstage, or just the Halloween's backstage for short. But because of all the things we've done for Animatronica, he wants us to let another team get it, so they can repay us for what we've done for Animatronica. He introduces the team that consists of Withered Freddy, Funtime Foxy, Nightmare Chica, Plush Trap, Springtrap, Withered Chica, Withered Foxy, and Jacko Chica. This is the team that will tackle this challenge, but they are a little dysfunctional, arguing just a bit. There are 4 areas, each with keys that open up one of the gates for the power orb. The first area I decided to challenge is one where we have to turn red jack-o'-lanterns to green by pressing them. While being briefed on what to do, Funtime Foxy makes a comment about how these pumpkins would make a really nice thing to sell. Withered Freddy agrees. This prompts Withered Foxy to start arguing with Withered Freddy, saying he shouldn't even start to think about starting another one of his scams. Then Withered Chica defends Withered Freddy. Once we get back on topic, Plush Up asks the 3 briefing us why there even is a power orb in the Halloween backstage, because power orbs are native to Rainbow Land, but the 3 dodge the question and run off. This puzzle just boils down to me hitting a random combination of pumpkins till I'm finally led through to the key. After we collect said key, Withered Freddy still mentions how easy it would be to steal one of the pumpkins. This launches Withered Foxy into an argument with Withered Freddy about the schemes he's pulled. Withered Freddy asks Withered Foxy to name one time he's pulled a scheme, so Withered Foxy talks about the time Withered Freddy hosted a game show. He was trying to have Withered Chica cheat on all the answers that was written on a piece of paper for her. She couldn't read any of the answers and was letting Withered Foxy win. So he started saying every answer Withered Chica was saying was correct. We flash back to the present, and both Withered Freddy and Chica are saying there was nothing wrong about that quiz. This just angers Withered Foxy even more, making him just want to get this over with so that he doesn't have to put up with those 2 withers anymore. For the second area I tackled, it would be the Booster Panel Challenge. Golden Freddy explains that there are gates that need to be opened by the press of a button. In order for these buttons to be pressed, we have to be moving at a very fast speed, hence why the booster panels are there. Withered Chica then questions on if it's safe, and Golden Freddy reassures her. But Nightmare Chica starts to provoke Withered Chica about being afraid of getting hurt. Before they continue, Jacko Chica yells at Nightmare Chica to just shut up and let Golden Freddy continue their explanation. Withered Chica then questions why the panels and the gates were even put there in the first place. Golden Freddy dodges the question and slides off. Again, Nightmare Chica starts to provoke Withered Chica, but this time Withered Freddy stops their argument. This movement challenge was infuriating beyond reason. This shit wasn't even like fun to play after a certain point. It just really like makes me hate the movement in this game even more because it's not easy to control. My hand was getting sore because of how many attempts I was doing, and then it's made even worse by the fact I was forced to move at a very fast speed and have to have very precise control, all while having shitty movement. Anyways, I was able to just thug it out and get past it and collect the key. Upon collecting the key, Wither Chica is happy because we're getting that much closer to the power orb. Then Nightmare Chica of course starts heckling her again. This time Wither Chica decided to actually fight instead of just take it. As they argue, Withered Freddy defends Wither Chica, and it really does little to de-escalate the situation. As the two birds are about to get in a fight, Plushtrap stops them. This annoys Springtrap because he was ready to see another fight, but they just stop and get a move on. The third area I decided to tackle was the lily pad puzzle area. The two animatronics giving us information this time around is the two endos. The goal of this puzzle is we have to form a bridge using the lily pads. With all this water talk, Jacko Chica gets a little worried about her flame getting dimmed. She then makes a comment about how at least this time it would be for a good reason, unlike the time someone threw a bucket of water at her. This prompts the person that comment was directed towards, Funtime Foxy, to get defensive. She's still wondering on how Jacko Chica has still not gotten over that. Withered Foxy defends Funtime Foxy, thinking it's just silly that Jacko Chica is still holding her grudge. He then questions on why so many people on this team have issues with each other. When the two endos are questioned, they run away before they can get grilled any further. This puzzle was actually enjoyable. It wasn't like mind-numbing like the glowing pumpkins, and it didn't make me want to break my keyboard like the booster panel puzzle. It's really just a lot of figuring out where the lily pads are placed as well as having good positioning with them. Though it is annoying how if a lily pad does get stuck to a wall, there's no way to move it out besides just resetting the entire thing. But with enough trial and error, I'm finally able to build a bridge to the key. Collecting the key has Jacko Chica again make an offhanded remark about Funtime Foxy. This causes both of them to start arguing because of her comment. As the two argue more about the incident, Funtime Foxy tells her that she was actually aiming at Endo Plush, but Jacko Chica got splashed instead, and Jacko Chica just wasn't believing any of it. Whatever the case was, Jacko Chica just ends it there, and we continue on to the fourth and final area. This area's gimmick is introduced to us by Nightmare Fredbear. There are tiles on the ground that, whichever way the arrows are facing, that is the direction I'm forced to go in. The tone Nightmare Fredbear was talking in kind of ticked off Springtrap. Springtrap rants about why all of the other animatronics came to the Halloween backstage and keep battling them, distracting them from their mission. Of course, the rise in tone from Springtrap angers Nightmare Fredbear, and he tries picking a fight with Springtrap. Luckily, Plushtrap intervenes and de-escalates the situation, but Springtrap's words did make Nightmare Chica question Nightmare Fredbear on why there are animatronics battling them for no reason. Nightmare Fredbear tries deflecting, but it didn't go so well, and he just leaves, not answering Nightmare Chica's question. Once Nightmare Fredbear leaves, Springtrap immediately starts to argue with Plushtrap on why he de-escalated that situation. Before their argument continues any further, they just decide to stop and continue their quest. Because the quicker they get to completing this quest, the faster they will get to figure out on why everybody's been acting so weird and uncover the truth. This gimmick is just mildly infuriating. It just requires good timing and movement, something that I still have an issue with, but this took way less attempts than the booster panel puzzle, so I'm quite happy with that, and I'm able to get through and get the key. Collecting the final key has Plushtrap congratulate everybody, but Springtrap starts to jeer at his weaknesses. This comment finally breaks Plushtrap's cool, and he calls out Springtrap and just starts hurling insults at him, like him having no friends and all he ever does is fight. Plushtrap realized he may have been a little too harsh, but Springtrap just ignores his apology and just wants to get the power orb. Collecting the power orb has Plushtrap again congratulate the entire team, and the arguing happens almost instantly after he finishes his thought, but this time it's party-wide. Each party member was talking about how one member was just useless. All this arguing finally breaks Jacko Chica, and she proposes the idea of having both parties fight each other. Everyone unanimously agrees, and the fight commences. The team I have is Withered Freddy, Funtime Foxy, Plushtrap, and Nightmare Chica. Each member has the same moves as they had in FNaF World, and this fight is easy as long as you just spam healing with Funtime Foxy. With the end of that fight, Jacko Chica demands a rematch, but Nightmare Foxy shows up to put an end to this. Everybody on the team immediately gives their attention to Nightmare Foxy so they can start questioning him on why everything was so odd here. He explains that he put the power orb here, all the obstacles, and even purposely chose all 8 party members. He did this because everybody on this party were driving everyone crazy with their arguing. He hoped that this setting would help them work together as a team, but now Nightmare Foxy sees it as a monumental waste of time and just wants to deliver the power orb to us Flipsiders, and he leaves. Everyone feels remorseful about their actions and are getting ready to leave until Rainbear shows up. He claims he was hired by Nightmare Foxy to deliver the power orb to us Flipsiders. Nobody bought his lie because everyone knew who he was, so he tries to just leave with the power orb, but Rainbear isn't going to get it without a fight. In a moment of true teamwork, they ward off Rainbear. Give Rainbear all you got. And I thought it was going to be an actual fight.
Nope, it's gonna be a scripted scene where he's like super powerful.
they all realize that they actually make a pretty good team. Everyone decides to pull back their arguing to not make it a problem for everyone else, but not fix the root issues they have with each other. So the team is off to find Nightmare Foxy to tell him the great news. Anyways, the Halloween team finally tells the great news to Nightmare Foxy. Nightmare Foxy doesn't buy any of it, stating how dysfunctional they are and how they could never work together as a team. Unfortunately, they come up with an idea to prove that they can work together as a team to Nightmare Foxy, and that requires fighting my team. And after the completion of this fight, I will finally get that power orb. This fight isn't an easy one because after an hour of attempts, I still couldn't beat it. The main issue is that I didn't have anyone high enough level to counter the healing for Funtime Foxy, so with the team I beat the game with, I had to go back and grind for 3 hours until I finally get this attempt. Oh my god. Let me heal. Fuck! No fucking way.
What?
And by the skin of my teeth, I am able to just barely beat them. This finally makes Nightmare Foxy believe they could work together as a team. As he questions them further to see if they completely solve their issues with each other, he sees that isn't the case, but they are at least trying to do better. This still is positive news in Nightmare Foxy's eyes. Unfortunately, Gecko Chica still takes a jab at Funtime Foxy, and finally Wither Foxy decides to put an end to it, admitting that he was the one that threw the water at Gecko Chica. And this sets a chain of events that leads to everybody making up. Everyone makes up, and we're finally given the 4th power orb. We talk to the Race Maniac, who has our 5th power orb, and he's willing to give it to us. In exchange, he wants us to complete a race of his design. Not only that, but we'd have to beat it under a time limit, and we'd also have to face off with him at the end. This race took me a better part of a week to complete. It was what made me realize how much I just hate movement challenges in this game. It forced me to get competent with all 3 movement options, as well as try to remember the course like the back of my hand. With enough persistence and looking at another person's video to see what's coming up next, I'm able to finally get into a fight with the Race Maniac. His fight isn't anything special, he only uses Alarm and Renee Day 2, and like with anything, it's just a beatdown. I focused less on healing and more on attacking to actually beat him within the time limit, but I'm able to do so. I felt great after that win, and the Race Maniac was so impressed with my team's performance, he was ready to give us the power orb right then and there. But before he's able to, Rainbear tries to steal the power orb. His plan this time around was freezing us with Haunting, and he demands the orb from the Race Maniac. The Maniac actually gives it to him with no resistance. Rainbear runs off with the orb before he unfreezed. He was given a fake, of course. It was merely a painted beach ball. The Race Maniac made a fake because he noticed Rainbear eyeing the power orb. As the Race Maniac gloats to himself on how he tricked Rainbear, he gives us the 5th power orb, and I'm sent back off to the Halloween backstage area for our next quest. This quest is introduced to us by Fredbear. He found another location of a power orb. He was reminiscing about all the deactivated minigames in the backstage. Using his technical abilities, Fredbear was able to reactivate Foxy Fighters. Being satisfied and exhausted, Fredbear took a break in Rainbow Land, and he found the blue power orb. He went back to the Halloween backstage, and he dropped the power orb into Foxy Fighters. The minigame spawns whoever enters it in a random location, so the best option is to just fly to get an aerial view of the place. Unfortunately, the planes used by Foxy, Toy Chica, Nightmare Chica, and JJ were nowhere to be found, But Fredbear did find some flying equipment, but only 3 people are qualified to use this equipment. The first one is a propeller attached to Mechcrab's antenna, the second is a parachute for Gear Rat, and the third is a wooden jetpack for Chop and Roll. Fredbear wishes good luck on our journey in finding the blue power orb. Entering the game, I'm jump scared by Think Noodles' voice, because he actually voices the Mechcrab. I was not expecting
Voice acting.
As the 3 get acquainted with the minigame, a plane interrupts them. This is of course Rainbear causing trouble again. He found the planes and brought an army of balloons to back him up. Each color of the balloons has their own ability. Green is just a basic one that shoots a projectile that only deals 1 damage. Also, the best character I found out to use was Chop and Roll because he fires in a burst of 3. Anyways, we finally catch up to Rainbear and he goes on the offensive. His only attack is a straightforward burst that deals 1 damage, so he's quite easy to deal with. We defeat him and he retreats. After dealing with a few more of Rainbear's balloons, some reinforcements arrive, that being cupcakes for healing and a few changes in weapons. Blue is a spread shot that shoots 3 shots, each shot doing 2 damage. Green is a shot that starts off dealing 7 damage, but it loses damage the farther it travels, going all the way down to 1. And orange is just a basic that has no drawback, and it deals 5 damage. Red balloons show up, and they're just a bit tankier and deal 2 damage instead. Rainbow shows up again and antagonizes us. This time he brought another balloon that poisons on contact. I fight my way through waves of balloons until I finally catch up to Rainbear. The new attack he has is a spread shot that either goes from the top or the bottom of the screen. He also gains an invincible state that deflects projectiles. I defeat him easily again, but his attacks are deceptively strong, tanking my health. I end up taking so much damage that I actually failed my first attempt, but luckily I got a checkpoint. And you get a checkpoint after each time you beat Rainbear. Another balloon shows up, being the blue balloon. It does 2 damage and it just has a faster firing rate. Again, Rainbear is back with another balloon that debuffs anyone who touches or shoots at it. It makes their shots only deal 1 damage. We again catch up to Rainbear and beat his ass. His new attack this time is to sit on top of the screen and fire a spread shot that covers half the screen. And he also goes invincible more often. After that defeat, he brings 1 more balloon type, being yellow. The yellow balloons are just a smaller, super tanky balloon that deals 5 damage per shot. And this is where a lot of attempts I got stuck at. Because of all my low health between my party members up to this point, and the fact that I'm just being jumped by balloons, I was kind of stuck here for a couple of hours. I finally figured out that I could actually stall for cupcakes in order to heal, and I kind of gave up on keeping everyone else alive and only keeping Chop and Roll alive. And after that change in strategy, I'm finally able to make it to Rainbear. Along with the previous attacks he has this time around, he gets a charge attack that fires a beam that just obliterates my health. He also has a homing attack. I do lose my first attempt, but on my second attempt, I'm able to stall enough to not die, and I finally am able to leave with the power orb. We return back to Fredbear and try to leave before Rainbear comes back, but I wasn't fast enough. He is exhausted, but he will not stop trying to get the power orb from us. He's interrupted by Fredbear, who has something important to tell him. Fredbear realizes that he is an incredible person with incredible determination, and he'd make an invaluable ally. But before Fredbear can continue about a device he made specifically for Rainbear, it falls on deaf ears and Rainbear just wants the power orb. Rainbear demands us to give up the power orb or he will be forced to use force. Of course I object, but Rainbear didn't come unprepared. There was 1 balloon that wasn't popped during our fight in Foxy Fighters. He commands it to fire anybody who has the power orb until they surrender it. Immediately Fredbear gives Rainbear the power orb, and Rainbear's balloon starts firing at him because the language he used was so ambiguous. Rainbear surrenders the power orb to us and just leaves in a fit. Fredbear shuts down the Foxy Fighters minigame, and he wished that Rainbear had listened to what he was trying to tell him. So with that, I head off to collect my 7th and final power orb. I encountered 3 peculiar looking rainbows while looking around Rainbow Land. These 3 don't devote their time to pulling tricks, but instead battling. These aren't the typical types of battle. It's more focused on dodging attacks and movement. In exchange for winning 3 battles against them, I can get the power orb they hold. The first battle is based on the slippery movement gimmick, and I have to dodge an alarm attack in an enclosed space, and it's followed up by a jack-o'-bomb attack that is needed to press the buttons on the ground to fire the cannon to damage the rainbow. I run around like a chicken with my head cut off, and I die a few times, but luckily I'm able to beat it. These battles do give me a little leeway, as for they do increase my hit points the more you die, so that does help. I'm congratulating for winning, but before I move on to the next rainbow, this rainbow tells us that White Rabbit asked him to tell me and the others a few stories. They're about the conversations between White Rabbit and Red Bear. The 2 are discussing how likely my team would be to even reach Freddy. The Guardians are brought up and how they would be put in a fight to the death against my team. The 2 try to figure out a way to not have the Guardians die in the process. Reviving them is off the table because only people with powers can revive people that they killed. The Guardians would die at my hands, eliminating that option. The idea of creating a portal to press the button without having to fight the Guardians is brought up, but it's shot down because there's a protection against portals around the buttons. White Rabbit and Red Bear come to a realization realization that the Guardians will have to die. So I move on to the next fight, and this one is using the platform movement. Needless to say, it was mind-numbingly difficult. Between dodging fourth walls, buzzsaws, and all while trying to do tight platforming, Here's a clip as an example. And after only 3 hours of attempts, I was finally able to shoot the final cannonball in that damn Rainbow's face. Anyways, after his defeat, I get treated to another story. White Rabbit did actually find out a way to rescue the Guardians from their death. He found out after snooping around Deskman's house, there was a folder that had a description of the power Freddy used to form a protection around the buttons. And there was a way to deactivate the protection using special clocks. There are a few limitations to this because it can only nullify the protection in a small range, but that is just fine because they can use it to just teleport behind the Guardians and press the button. But there is one issue. There are only 3 clocks and potentially 4 Guardians. But White Rabbit believes that the 4th one is in no real danger and shouldn't need our help. And this is when Red Bear decides to actually be the guide to my team, and tell me where to find the clocks to save the Guardians. And that is where our story ends as I rush up to the next arena. The last movement gimmick is with the ice slider movement. I have to dodge rainy day clouds and fourth walls, and this one is 100 times easier than the last one. I beat it in like 10 minutes. So after, again, caving in the skull of a rainbow with a cannonball, I get treated to the final part of the story. While my team was getting ready to start my journey, Red Bear and White Rabbit have one more conversation, and White Rabbit is concerned. What if my team decides to take the easy way out, and instead of saving the Guardians, I just beat them in a battle and kill them? So the two argue whether or not my team will or won't save the Guardians. Red Bear is fully faithful, but White Rabbit isn't so sure. So to put an end to this, Red Bear decides he's going to tell my team to kill the Guardians instead of saving them. So that way my team will have to go out of its way to find the clocks to save the Guardians. This obviously being a bad idea, White Rabbit tries to convince Red Bear otherwise, but he isn't budging. Red Bear is just so confident my team won't kill the Guardians. So White Rabbit just gives up trying to convince Red Bear, but he tells him that if anyone dies, White Rabbit is leaving animatronica and he will never return. And the two leave off in a huff. The reason why White Rabbit told the Rainbow Trio was because he thought my team deserved to know this story. And in the event that he would leave animatronica if someone died, there would at least be someone there to tell the story. White Rabbit and Red Bear show back up to apologize and reconnect for the way they acted. Anyways, we have to collect the Power Orb from the Rainbow Trio. I am again congratulated doing well in all the battling styles, and this time they just won a regular battle from us. And I get my ass handed to myself first attempt, but second attempt is much easier. All I had to do was switch out a few chips and bytes, and I'm able to beat the trio into a pulp. The Rainbows congratulate me once again, and they give me the Power Orb. And Rainbow shows up again. His ploy this time isn't even really that creative this time around. He just steals the Power Orb while it's rolling towards us. Again, he starts gloating, and the way we get rid of him this time is we actually shoot a cannonball at him. The Rainbows simply just distract him by talking to him, and he's hit by a cannonball. And with that, I have earned all 7 Power Orbs. Fredbear comes to congratulate me and my team, and he wants to come talk to us at the entrance of Rainbow Land. He wants to talk about what we're going to do with the Power Orbs. I meet back up with Fredbear, and he congratulates me again. And Fredbear's idea for the Power Orbs is to get all 7 of them and put them in a safe place. He gets the 4 from Marionette and the 3 from my team. And the very second the orbs are in Fredbear's possession, my vision starts to warp, and Fredbear asks if I'm looking okay, because I look like I'm about to faint, and I proceed to do so. Upon regaining consciousness, it's just Bouncepot waking up in Fazbear Hills, or what's left of it. Fredbear is there to greet us, and he tells us that Freddy's taken over, and everyone besides Bouncepot and Fredbear has either left or died. Bouncepot tries convincing Fredbear that he and his team defeated Freddy. Fredbear explains this away by saying Bouncepot has been asleep this entire time, and he dreamed up our entire adventure. But Bouncepot's adamance ignites a spark in Fredbear to fight against Freddy. But there is one issue. Freddy is behind a gate that requires 20 keys to get past. So, oh boy, another fetch quest. So I'm left in this desolate wasteland trying to collect all these keys. Anyways, after collecting all the keys, I finally make my way to Freddy. We confront him and we just die. As Freddy's mic hits Bouncepot, we're forced to linger on the red X that used to be Bouncepot. A person speaks to us to highlight the hopelessness of our situation, saying how it was hopeless from the beginning and there really was no team that stopped Freddy. Or was it? The owner of the voice finally decides to reveal themselves to be Rainbear. This obvious twist leads into Rainbear gloating on how good he got Bouncepot, and how everything he's seen was an illusion with the help of the 7 Power Orbs. Rainbear was distraught seeing that my team got all 7 Power Orbs, but he came across an 8th one, something that hadn't been talked about before. And with the 8th Power Orb, he used it to disguise himself as Fredbear in order to obtain the rest of the orbs for himself. He caused my entire team to fade and woke up only Bouncepot to have him go through this twisted reality. He reveals the rest of my team to continue his monologue. He talks about how he plans on tricking everyone in animatronica constantly. Of course, my team objects and is ready to fight him. He shows us that it is a fool's errand and we are severely outclassed. And he shows just the true powers of the power orbs combined. He can change where we are fighting, who we are fighting as. He can make millions of copies of himself. And he can even give himself the voice actor again. He can do anything with all the orbs in his possession. Rainbow decides to take pity on us and just give us a fight. He even lets us prepare ourselves. And this fight was way harder than Freddy. It took me about 5 hours to beat this. I would just do attempt after attempt and get nowhere for the first hour. I unfortunately made the realization I am going to have to grind again. So I used this time to rebattle some fights I did miss and just grind in Freddyland. One battle I did miss was the battle between Shadow Freddy and the Spring animatronics. The challenge here is that all bites and chips are disabled during this battle. The only answer to this is that I have to grind. Eventually, I'm able to beat the trio and get the Pearl. The Pearl is the last bite that just constantly heals my party, so it's really helpful. The next fight is a fight between Nightmare Freddy and Fredbear, and it was just a cakewalk. It was the last fight I needed in order to complete JJ's quest. All this does is allow for custom battles, and with that I go back to grinding in Freddyland. Now, if you come back here in post-game, Freddy himself is actually cleaning up the place to atone for his past actions, so that's kind of cool. Anyways, now the actual fight against Rain Bear is actually quite simple in the beginning, just being a repeat of the first fight we had with him. But once I take down that health bar, he reveals we weren't doing any damage to him at all. Our health was not that high at all either. He reveals each of the party members were actually down to 1 HP. He taunts us for a while, which allows all the healing bites to at least let us gain some health. Then we move on to his second phase. Rain Bear had tinkered with the power orbs to do attacks on command, and he uses the orbs to pull tricks on me. But instead of explaining more, I'm just gonna show the successful attempt. fucked. With Rainbear's illusions dispelled, he figured out what we were aiming at the whole time. We were aiming specifically at the power orbs and had deactivated them. Knowing he stood no chance against my team in a real fight, retreats. So yet again, I've been defeated. Even with all the power I had, even though I thought I was undefeatable, I somehow ended up losing in the end. I should take the hint. With the way history repeats itself so many times, it seems like this is the way things are supposed to be. My destiny isn't greatness after all. I'm destined to remain a loser. Fredbear comes to explain his adventure that's just a recap of events from Rainbear's Twisted Reality from a different perspective. So we're just going to talk about the other reason Fredbear showed up. It's dumb. The 8 power orbs are back in order. What? Are you expecting me to jump with joy and all giddy all because of this? The power orbs are working again? So what? Why would that even matter to me when I know I won't be able to keep them? I'm glad you asked, Rainbear. I have something very important to tell you. Remember when I mentioned a gadget that is intended for you to use? Let me explain what it does. That gadget allows you to... This again. You're going to ask me to join you. From the moment I've met you guys, all you've ever done is bring me misery. You ruined my home by making it boring. You stole all the power ups from me. You robbed me of my lifelong goal of becoming the greatest trickster in the world. And now you expect me to shrug it off and help you? I'm not putting up with you any longer. I'm getting out of animatronica right this instant. I do not know where I'm going, but anywhere else is better than being here with you. I hope I never see you ever again. What are you doing? Get out my sight, yellow rabbit of unclear gender. That's not happening, Rainbear. I was aware that you're very stubborn and would want to leave without listening to me. That's why I asked Spring Bonnie to barricade you from leaving. Rainbear, you need to hear what I have to say. You heard him. You're not going anywhere until you've listened to Fredbear. Trust me, I'm sure you'll like what he's going to tell you. Carry on now, Fredbear. I said, fuck you, I wish you leave. Because this stupid ass guy. Also, I figured there's a Roblox game that has Rainbear in it, so you'll never believe. No. Yeah. Thank you, Spring Bonnie. Rainbear, I know just how much you want these power orbs. You've been after them your whole life. And after thinking about it, I came to the conclusion the best way to end our conflict is by giving you what you want. Rainbear, I propose we keep 4 power orbs for ourselves that will be used to power up my machine, refighting boss's machine. And the other 4 power orbs you keep for yourself. So why are you forcing me to stay here against my will? For me to listen to you mock me with your unfunny jokes? You're sickening. This is not a joke in any way, shape, or form, Rainbear. Before I go into any further detail on my proposal, let me elucidate what my gadget does. And no interruptions this time, alright? My gadget gives you the ability to transform into any animatronic you want, and then have access to their entire moveset. Simply pick an animatronic from the list, and the gadget will give you their moveset, as well as make the power or project an illusion that'll make you look like the animatronic of your choosing. Yeah, so I think what I've known about this the entire time. Rainbear actually can turn into any single original FNaF World animatronic. There's more to it, too. All the animatronics, with the exception of myself, only have 3 attacks. But I've added in a 4th attack for everyone to make the gadget even more powerful. If you were to join their team, you would become a strong ally with this gadget, and you'd be able to help in various situations with such a wide range of attacks. That makes no sense. Why can't you just give the gadget to someone else who's already on their team? Why do you want it to be me who gets to keep it? Can you tell, Rainbear? The gadget only functions with the power orbs. Therefore, whoever uses the gadget must also carry the orbs with them. It could I could give it to someone else, but you're the one who wants the orbs the most. You'd be helping them out greatly with the gadget, and you'd also have some orbs for yourself, just like you've always wanted. This way everybody wins in the end. Am I getting this right? You're telling me if I agree to join their team and use your gizmo, I'll be allowed to keep 4 pirate orbs for myself. Correct, Rain Bear. When I told the Flipsiders to meet me in Rainbow Land, I was going to tell them about my idea of giving you 4 power orbs. There isn't a shred of logic to anything you just said, Purple Hat Dude. For all this time, you guys have been stopping me from grabbing even a single orb. Now you want me to have 4 of them? What changed now? Here's the thing, Rain Bear. We've been trying to stop you from getting the power orbs because of the way you wanted to use them. Intentions very explicit to cause trouble in animatronica by tricking people with illusions. The more you speak, the less I understand you. What's the big deal about me pulling tricks? How is it causing trouble? I get that you find it annoying, but why get so worked up over it? It's not like anyone would be harmed from it. This is right here, the core of the problem. You don't realize how much of a torment it would be causing your illusionary tricks. They wouldn't just be harmless fun like you imagine. Say, would you like it if someone were to make an illusion of you and say the nastiest things? And what about that big trick you pulled on Bounce Spot? You could have seriously scared him with that. Harmless, sure, but you don't need to make it. You don't need to hurt somebody. You don't need to hurt someone to leave a mark. Not to mention how you made everyone in Fazbear Hills and Choppy Woods both invisible and silent. The ways you could disrupt people's lives with all that power are countless. Imagine having your plans for the day ruined because some trickster made you invisible. That's barely scratching the surface of all the problems that the inadequate use of the power orbs could bring. Do you understand how now this wouldn't just be annoying people, it would be causing very serious trouble? Perhaps you've gotten yourself a point. I didn't see it in that way. Never have I realized how problematic tricks with illusions have the potential of being. How could I have failed to understand that until now? This is why there must be restrictions regarding your use of the 4 power orbs to make sure you don't misuse them and end up causing any more issues to anyone. We're willing to let you keep them only if you agree to our conditions. First and foremost, any tricks you pull with the power orbs have to be completely harmless. Anything that could leave any kind of negative impact on someone or something must be avoided. Secondly, as you're very aware, many people find it quite annoying to get tricked. You may find it fun, but not everyone thinks in the same way you do. If anyone is bothered by you and your tricks and asks you to stop tricking them, respect their wishes and leave them alone. And finally, take it easy with the amount of tricks you pull. Pulling dozens of tricks every day would get really annoying very fast. And I'm sure pulling 1 or 2 tricks a day would be fine, and wouldn't get on anyone's nerves. Having declared our conditions, what do you say, Rain Bear? Do you agree to my proposal, or do you accept to join the Flipsiders teams and keep 4 power orbs to yourself, making sure you follow our conditions? Are you seriously asking me to do this? Do you take me for a fool? I'll tell you what. You should be awarded a trophy for asking the silliest question of all time. Because you shouldn't have bothered to ask. It's obvious that I agree. As if I'd ever turned down such a fabulous offer. I vow to follow your conditions to a T. The power orbs shall not be used improperly. The conditions are not even that much of a restriction. It's just plain common sense. Fuck you. There's just one thing I'd like to know. Because of your proposal is just as amazing as it is confusing, why exactly are you doing all of this? Why are you being so nice to me after all the trouble I've caused you guys? Because you're not a bad person, Rain Bear. Sure, you did cause quite a bit of trouble for us in search of the power orbs, but you did all that because you firmly believed what you were doing was right. You just needed someone to help you to see things in a different light. To help you understand that we don't want to be your enemies. We only stopped you getting the power orbs because it would bring problems for us. All we wanted was to talk it over and figure out a way for everything to work out for both of us. Now that we've discussed our conditions, all of us can be happy in the end. I can't believe just how wrong I was about all of you. From my point of view, you were nothing but a bunch of bullies, stealing power orbs from me for the sole purpose of not letting me succeed in my goals and making me miserable. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You didn't want me to attain the power orbs because I didn't know how to properly use them, and I would make a big mess with them. Now that I've learned my lesson, I'm allowed to have 4 power orbs. I may not be able to project illusions as astounding as I could when I had all 8 of them, but I can still create many stunning illusions nonetheless. I couldn't be happier. Thank you, all of you. You're the kindest people I've ever met for gifting me with these orbs. This is all I've ever wanted. I may be the greatest trickster in the world, but you have made me the happiest trickster in the world, and that's much more meaningful. Now that it's finally over, and now it's finally time for Rainbow to join your party. I can't wait to try out this fancy gadget of Redbear's authorship. I should be honored to battle alongside you. After Rainbow finally joins our party, Fredbear decides to recount our entire journey in Rainbow Land, and I'm just gonna skip over all that dialogue. That sums it up. As if overthrowing Freddy and saving Animatronica wasn't enough, you went on another adventure to collect all the power orbs and stop Rainbow from causing trouble. You are our heroes. But you did more than save us from problems more than once. You heard all those peoples expressing their gratitude for you, for all the things you did for them. Everywhere you go, you leave a positive impact on people's lives. You are very special people. Thank you for everything. I better get going now. I have a lot of inventions to work on. Have a great day, everyone. Until we speak again. Hey, folks, what are you waiting for? There are a lot more fun things to do. Standing here, let's get going, my friends. On to the next battle. It is the end. You've completed the Power Orbs quest. See? And thank you for playing. The story for FNaF World Simulator comes to a close. But I did want to transition into a review of FNaF World Simulator. I waited to do this because I wanted to complete the full game, including this update. Though, I took a whole lot longer than I intended to complete this. Anyways, I really did enjoy playing this fan game. It does a great job at building a world. A good example of this is the character interactions. This is more exemplified in the Rainbow Land Sidequest more than the main story, but even the main story has its moments. From all 3 guardians being thankful for me for sparing their lives, to the entire Halloween backstage quest. It makes the world feel lived in. I also liked how this game is surprisingly long. It probably took me like 37 hours to complete. There's just so much packed into this little fan game. The battling system itself has positives and negatives. It's nice that it was changed to be a little bit more skill-based than just spamming gift boxes, but on the same side of that coin, FNaF World's fast-paced gameplay does make a rough transition to being more skill-based, and it doesn't mesh together so well. And I have a personal gripe with how they implemented gift boxes. It's unfortunate that it's the only way to counter healing and how they actually disappear if you don't spam them, so it's just stupid in my opinion. But overall, it's nice that it just wasn't a copy and paste of FNaF World's battling system. An issue that is prevalent though is the level curve. While I did play this on hard mode, it still is a problem on normal mode too. From gift boxes being required to beat Bonnie at all, and the insane difficulty jump in the Guy Slayer, and the several times I had to grind in order to beat some fights during the Rainbow Land side quest, such as with the Halloween team and Rainbear. These were all points where it just became a slog playing this because all I was doing was just trying to get my levels up, and there wasn't any great places to level up either, so that made it even more difficult. But overall, I would say the game is great. Yeah, there is frustrating parts, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives. It succeeds at being a continuation of FNaF World while still feeling like its own thing. I recommend this fan game to anyone who's watching this video, but for the love of God, play in normal mode. You'll be so thankful for doing so, because it's not fun being just stuck in a point and all you can do is grind. And as for what the future of this game may hold, I actually do have the answers to that. This is a finished fan game. In the same post that announced Update 2, it was stated that there would be no more content updates for this game, and I think that's fine. Don't fix what isn't broken. With this, finally, we're able to close the book on FNaF World Simulator's story. This has been Just a Wind Spirit, and I will catch you on the flip side.